ain't searching, I remember. I was born with the answer. Through the fire, through the pressure, I emerge with the standard. I don't follow, I awaken. Ain't no man like I'm the root, I'm the branches. I'm the law and the language. Yeah.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to another round of My Patriot Report Live. I am the bridge connecting the next generation to federal contracting. I am Ratwan Hill, and with me I have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ambassador of Peace. And if you don't know who he is by now, you might want to ask Google Gemini, Mr. Walter Cotton III. Mr. Cotton, happy Friday, man. How you doing?
Happy Friday to you. We are the 3rd of July, recording this one day before America's 250th birthday. So let's say a early happy birthday to America.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And let's just jump right into it now. It's been a video that's been online, and this Major Jason Watson. Yeah. I think the timing of this message and the 250th anniversary, I think it's been a powerful, pivotal moment. Could you just give us a little bit of details on what you read? What was your read on what Major Watson did?
Well, I think that before we and I don't know that I can even tilt towards that windmill. What I was going to tilt toward the windmill was why he did what he did. And there's no way for me to accurately determine what was in his brain. So I'm not going to tilt at that windmill in this broadcast. I will provide some high octane speculation on that in future broadcasts. But what this young man just did was unprecedented. For the first time in the history of these United States, an active duty officer resigned his commission in defiance of the executive branch's actions and behaviors, because he believes that there are actions and behaviors that are a threat to the Constitution, which is what he swore an oath to. And under that type of demand, pressure, he felt it important for him to do something that is not authorized under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is to protest openly, which is what you see him doing here in his military uniform. And so what you're seeing this first time in history event is you're seeing a young man take a 17-year career, if I'm reading the information that's coming in about his background accurately, in military service, and throw that away. And for those of you who don't understand the retirement system in the federal government, that means that he was 3 years away from permanent retirement. That means he was 3 years away from getting a pension at an officer salary for the rest of his life, having all of his health care covered for himself and his family, depending on what type of physical condition that he was in, having access to educational benefits, having access to home loan. So this young man took all of those benefits and 17 years of investment and put it on the line in order to make this particular statement. And folks, when you see something like that, you have to pay attention to it, right? For me, this is analogous to the ocean receding from the shore, right? Mm-hmm. And producing more beach. And the thing we want to be mindful of, we want to be watchful for, is that this is not the beginning of something we need to be more concerned about.
Absolutely. Now, okay, not to get into too much detail, but I did want to have a better understanding of what we were looking at. So I was on the enlisted side, so I'm not too 100% sure how this works, but is he just able to, well, okay, I asked this first question. Is he just able to say I resign? He's not under like a contract like everybody else. How does that process work?
Well, in this particular instance, he's violated several components of the military code of federal justice, right? And as a result of this action right here, this is a arrestable. This is a detainable action, and so because of this action, he will be arrested and he will be charged, and that charge includes a certain sentence, and it would be my hallucination, since this is an action against the commander-in-chief, that sentence is going to include the rescinding of his commission, right? That the stripping of his rank. In addition to, I understand that this particular action calls for, up to 1 year of imprisonment. So this action is a violation of components of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and just taking it causes those mechanisms to start into motion.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that because he was protesting while he was in uniform, so if he wasn't in uniform and just represented himself as Major Watson, would he be breaking the law then, or is that the whole reason why?
There's a difference between the statutes and law, right, and the code of criminal justice. Right? Okay, so he was violating the Uniform Code of Criminal Justice. He wasn't violating a federal statute, right? And that's a whole different measure, right? When you sign your life over to the military, right, you become a member of that ecosystem. You become a member of that economy. You become a member of that criminal justice system. And so he didn't violate a federal statute, right? He violated a code of justice, the Uniform Code of Justice.
So, okay, so do the UCMJ laws that, so isn't this a form of freedom of speech, or is that overridden by the? That's what I'm asking.
That's overridden by the Uniform Code of Military Justice, right? The Uniform Code of Military Justice, they still allow for firing squads, right, for treason, right? So this is where our American citizens need to study themselves approved and understand the rules and regulations and authorities that govern them, right? And understand the operating systems that people are being measured by. Because if we as Americans understood the significance, the magnitude of what you're seeing behind me, you would understand that all heroes don't wear capes. And you would understand that it is absolutely critical that we get to the bottom of why this decorated military officer took this action.
Understood. So what I'm reading now or connecting the dots is that what he did was pretty significant, because not only did he break UCMJ laws, he also is putting his benefits at sacrifice. So he actually sacrificed a lot. So the messaging that he was delivering was strong enough, and his belief was strong enough to realize that this ain't right, what's going on in the nation.
Well, I think that he's trying to send a message to someone. I believe it's us, the American people, that suggests that our Constitution is under attack, because that's what we sign up for when we sign our oath under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. When we sign up our oath to the nation, right? We sign an oath and pledge an oath to protect and defend the Constitution against all foes, foreign and domestic. And so this decorated military officer is seeing enough activities, and he's calling for impeachment. He's calling for, removal and conviction. So he's seeing enough actions coming out of our executive branch to motivate him to put himself in harm's way in this fashion. And I think that what he's attempting to do is maybe move that needle to the final measure, right? There's that measure of private knowledge, right, where individuals believe something about a situation or circumstance, right? There's the personal knowledge, right, where the group believes it, but that still is siloed. And then there becomes that point of a common knowledge, right? That's when everybody knows that what they're seeing is what they're seeing. The emperor's new clothing, the emperor's new suit is the best example, right? It wasn't until the little girl in the square said the emperor's got no clothes on did everybody recognize that the emperor was naked. In this particular instance, I think that this young man is pointing the country's attention to the fact that there are some behaviors coming out of the executive branch that are just downright dangerous, that are just downright threatening to the safety, to the security, whether it's economic or physical, of these United States. And that is threatening the constitutional ability of our nation to react. So I have some ideas as to why he's doing this. I've seen some things that this executive branch has done that has been a test of the Constitution. Like the jet that the president took from Qatar. From my layman's read of that, that's a gift, which would be a violation of the Emoluments Clause. But, this president has chosen to see it another way and redefine it, right? It's my position that the situation with the Kennedy Center and the president attempting to put his name on the Kennedy Center was, again, a violation, a clear, right, a violation of the authorities that are granted to Congress under the Constitution. And dare I say, if we look at this action that we're experiencing in the Middle East, right, there's some clear question as to whether or not this executive branch is overstepping their authority under the War Powers Act. And so I think that what Major Jason Watson has pointed our attention to is something that is going to, over time, become more common knowledge, and that is the fact that the enemy is within.
Sir. Yes, sir. Now, that's a good segue for, the next topic I want to talk about, and this is about the veterans and veterans doing what they need to do. The infrastructure is already set. We have settled laws that gives us advantage. Now, I titled this Veteran Reunification, right? Because from my generation, from my perspective, it seems like we're all, I understand everybody has their lanes. We have the, benefits lane. We have the business lane for veterans. We have our own ecosystem, but it seems like it's spread out, and it seems like while we are effective when things in regards to benefits come up, there's a voice, but it seems like that when it comes to business stuff for veterans, it's not as loud of a voice, So I'm under the impression, and I feel as if it's up to us, our generation, to look at it from a different perspective of, we all veterans, we all have one mission, and that's that we want the best for the veterans. And that best for the veterans comes in different aspects, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, whether it's economics. It all should be under one umbrella. So coming from, I just want to get your perspective on that thought process, Mr. Cotton. As you've been instrumental with the American Legion, with the Elite SDVOB network. What is your thoughts on the veterans being so spread out and actually coming together under one conglomerate and be in one fist, instead of an open hand.
Well, your title of reunification is timely in terms of the needs of the veteran community, because over time the invisible hands of lobby and big business has even gotten into the veteran ecosystem and has created a divide within our system, right? And so now you've got VSOs that are striving to be counted among the number, right? They're counted wanting to be one of the big three, right? Or the big five, right? The American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, right? Disabled Veterans of America, right? But where do we fall in? Wounded Warriors, right? Of America, right? Where do some of the many other veteran-facing nonprofits fall into the pecking order of the veteran service organization community? And the fact that we have such a division is an example of the problem, right? It's a affirming of your suggestion that we need a reunification, which suggests that maybe your generation of veterans needs to look at things differently. Maybe you all may need to redefine the role of the veteran service organization for your community. They say that, products go through life cycles. And I believe that organizations go through these similar life cycles. When a product is new, there's value inflow, right? And a lot of people rush dollars into those products. Same thing with organizations. When they're new, there's value inflow. But over time, right, those products and those organizations mature. And if they, or let me say it another way, if as they grow from adolescent, right, to young adult to maturity, if they don't reinvent themselves and remain relevant to their customers, they start experiencing value outflow as new entrants come on. There is a point, there's an intersection on that growth curve. Actually, Andy Grove, the co-founder of Intel, defined this intersection as the critical inflection point. You either reinvent yourself at that critical inflection point, or you risk obsolescence. You risk enough value outflow to the point where you no longer become viable. I believe that we've had enough division and fracturing within our current veteran service organization population that we're not effective. We're obsolete. We're so obsolete that Congress has the audacity, dare I say, unmitigated gall to deliver a bill, a $21 billion bill to the table that strips benefits out of the veteran community, and they expect us to be okay with that, right? And so because of the fracturing, because of the eroding of value within the veteran service organization community, we have this state. I would suggest to you, my young veteran brother, that you all come together and you all deliver that unifying voice that we need so that we can get our veteran community back together, because there's no reason why they are creating these Frankenstein omnibus bills in a silo, but leaving the important stuff off the table. Like this Protect Our Veterans Act bill is a good idea, but I think that if they talk to the entire veteran community, they would hear that the Contract with Our Veterans Act is of equal priority to some of these other components that you have in this bill, right? The Veteran Member Business Loan Act is equally important to some of these provisions that you have in this bill. We as a veteran community may not be as comfortable with the idea of you eroding the value of our hospital system as you are. So some of the provisions that are boosting up the community care component of that bill, right? Maybe we want to take another look at that. And so I think it's critical for your generation to take control of this veteran service organization reintegration, this reunification thing that you're talking about, and make it happen. Make it so now.
Yes, sir. I consider myself a doer. So where will we start at? Like, where will we start? Is it start by creating a organization? I feel like we don't need more organization. It's enough out there. I feel like we just need to embed ourselves in the infrastructures that already exist. So,
and that is true. And so I would give you the same advice on this side of the equation that I'm giving you on the community development and ethnocentric side of the equation. And I would say you start with the money, right? You start with the golden rule, right? You start with the most important element for veterans, and that's their ability to own enterprises, to own assets, and be able to self-determine for themselves. And so, if there was a veteran service organization like the Elite Service Disabled Veteran Network that's hyper-focused on business issues, that's hyper-focused on empowering veteranpreneurs, I would say that we utilize them as the foundational element, right? And allow them to get into the position that we need them to be in the economy that fuels all of the other interests that we have. That would be my recommendation if you ask me.
absolutely.
If you ask me.
Absolutely. And that actually is a perfect segue into our next segment, which is discussing this reunification and, just what I've been inspired by from you, Dr. Claude Anderson, the Powernomics, even Roxanne Chantel with the reunification word that we adopted, and just for the audience is pretty much gentrification, but it's putting our people back in those communities, revitalizing our communities for ourselves in a layman terms. And something about this just really, it really sits and resonates with me. I'll be transparent. I've always been the type to be like, you know what? How about I go out in a rural area and, just build out my home, have a lake out there in the middle of nowhere where I'm isolated from everybody. But then, as I mature and as I talk to you, it's like, well, why would you do that where you have your communities already embedded, but they just need a little bit of TLC, honestly. And we could bring that TLC because we understand that veterans that look just like me, that come from those communities, we have rights, we have benefits that give us advantage to what Mr. Cotton was saying about the foundational layer that Dr. Claude Anderson said, that economic foundation. So we have a golden ticket. We have the rights. We have the ability to do what we need to do to secure our generational wealth. DEI has been dismantled. We understand that. Okay, boo-hoo. What's the next plan? We can't just sit and resonate on that. We got to do something different. Well, guess what? We could still be a service disabled veteran. And if you're not a service disabled veteran, you could work with a service disabled veteran, or let me say that in a different way. You can partner with a service disabled veteran owned small business, and you can enjoy being a service disabled veteran owned small business and still contribute and still participate in this wealth transfer. And the wealth transfer.
Can I stop you for a second, Mr. Hill? Because, when you speak with a certain confidence and cadence that may be off-putting for the audience, because, you talk like someone that's got either a secret, right, a pocket promotion, because you're talking as if this is something that you can do. What is the enabling factor, right? What gives you the confidence that you could deploy a strategy like reunification? What gives you the confidence that you could go back into the underserved communities that people like you and I came from, and you could create foundational jobs? You could be an economic engine. What gives you the audacity, dare I say, unmitigated gall to speak with the confidence with which you speak?
Yes, sir. Well, it start with what we ended the last podcast on Wednesday with, and that was the belief. You got to have a belief in yourself first. That's like the foundation. If you don't even have a belief, then you don't have a foundation to even, want to do that stuff or aspire to do those things. So it did start with a belief. Then ultimately it's that studying yourself approved that you have, impressed upon me that seed that you've been sowing and watering for quite some time now, and understanding that we have rights, we have laws, and then understanding that I have a mentor, which I think is significant for everybody that's in my generation to understand and to have. And even if you're older, having somebody who has the experience and wisdom to, tell you how things should be, or tell you how things should go, and having that relationship is important. And then having the system, because the individual like yourself who has the experience could tell you, well, this is the exact pathway. You don't have to go all through here when this is this pathway right here. So having that relationship and having that foundation is significant. And then once we have the system, then you can execute. So I say all that to say, because I've gotten this relationship, because I got involved with the elite SDVOSB network, because I'm connected to a mentor, not any mentor, an individual who has experience and a foundation and understanding of how these mechanisms work, I was able to produce a multi-billion-dollar organization. We were able to get one of the largest Ability One nonprofit agencies on the table.
Can I stop you before you go into that diatribe? Because I can hear a groan coming from the audience that says, belief is one thing, but there needs to be some evidence, right? Mm-hmm. There at some point, the belief in the yellow spaghetti monster, right, is never going to come true, right? So there's got to be something that you believe in that produces evidence, that motivates you to take the additional action to cross that chasm of ideation to action, right? Mm-hmm. What kind of evidence of the things that you're hopeful of have you seen that has taken your belief to the next level? Like, why are you so confident that you can create reunification for yourself, much less motivate other people to consider
it? Good question. Well, I will say this. The fact, like I mentioned earlier, because we got a golden ticket and I have the know-how of how to do it, and it's just, implementing that know-how, that's all the confidence. And it's people that look just like me that have done it before. So it's a blueprint already out there. It's not something that is out of imagination. It's already a framework blueprint that has already been laid out. You just have to follow that blueprint and then, add whatever we can imagine on there that makes sense.
And is this blueprint that you're talking about, is this a blueprint that's based on strategy? Is this a blueprint that's based on available prevailing law? Is this a blueprint that's based on, cotton idea? What is this blueprint based on? Settled law, ideation, or hope?
This is based off of strategy. This is based off of settled law. It's based off of allocated funds that the government has given us. So all of this stuff is already in place. We just need to know how to connect the dots. And fortunately for individuals like myself, who's interfaced with, who's in this ecosystem, we already connected the dots. It's just executing at this point in time,
So basically what I think I hear you saying to people that are, within your generation, you found your way to a opportunity that you can take the golden ticket that's connected to your superpower, and you can utilize that as a economic development engine in the communities you're looking to target. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. That's accurate.
And so right now, most of the people that are out there listening to this, they're sitting on this side of the equation where they're a neophyte and they just heard about this. And when they start unpacking it, they're going to find out they need past performance, capability, and capacity. They need to become contract viable and contract ready, right? You know, are there any mechanisms that they can use to jump the shark, right? To dynamically engineer the stuff that they're looking for?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It absolutely is. And I won't say shameful plug because it's the truth. You know, Mr. Cotton has been the individual who has popularized joint venturing for the small business community. He's been advocating for disabled veterans for 20 plus years. Now, this is not because I know him, so this is not no bias. This is a fact. And you can, when I say you could ask Google Gemini or Chat GPT or do your own research, you can do that yourself. But the fact of the matter is the foundation has been laid out and there's receipts for it. And I would highly advise everybody to, participate in Mr. Cotton's GovCon curriculum.
You know, and on that note, and in the example of Mr. Watson, right? I'm motivated to provide an above the rim example of my patriotic commitment to this nation as well. And we've been talking about making America economically safe again, right? Mm-hmm. And we've been utilizing the terminology radical economic patriotism, right? We need demonstrations of radical economic patriotism. Well, there's a demonstration of radical patriotism, right? And I've got a system, as Mr. Hill has talked about, that's, pretty well received nationally for the work that it's done in producing well north of $150 billion worth of contract awards to veterans. That system has a price tag of $10,000. And what I'm prepared to do from a radical economic patriotism perspective is roll that price back by 50% for those individuals that become members of the Elite Service Disabled Veteran Network and sign up to Mr. Hill's Reunification model. Let me say that again. For those people who become members of the Elite Service Disabled Veteran Network and sign up to Mr. Hill's Reunification model, I will reduce the cost of my proven training class by 50%. And that's for new entrants into the program starting this 4th of July.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Would you also like to share the announcement about the Elite SDVOB network?
Which announcement is that?
That now that anybody can, it's free to join the Elite SDVOB network.
Yeah, and I guess I should do that. And I'm reluctant to do that kind of self promotion because I've been blessed to reach a certain station in life. Yeah. That empowers me with the ability to make membership in that organization free. So if you are a disabled veteran or veteran out there that's within the sound of my voice, and you want to become a part of a community of practice that's creating an economic rising tide across this nation, you can surf out to the URL that you see below and become a member of the Elite Service Disabled Veteran Network, and that would be your entry point. I think the big announcement Mr. Hill was trying to squeeze out of me is letting you all know that I've made that membership free. I've covered the cost for every veteran that will participate in the Elite Service Disabled Veteran Network, and particularly the New York chapter. So surf out, join. Love to see your face in the place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I want to reemphasize that because my generation, we need to get more involved, right? We need to do our part. We want to see changes, and everybody on social media complaining. This is your opportunity to participate and actively change the direction of your future, or our futures. And on that note, guys, y'all have a happy 4th of July. I am Retwan Hill, and that is the Mr. Walter Cotton III. Until next time.